Being overprepared is impossible. And other mottos. By Please Dial 123. Chapter 5. Weapons Day! Okay, kiddies, I have a treat for you! Kakashi announced, interrupting the three-way spar on top of the ocean waves. They ignored him, exchanging blows and dodging around him as if he wasn't there. My cute little student's ignoring me! Kakashi said, put his face in his hands as if he were crying. Your surprises are usually painful, Sakura said shortly, throwing Naruto over her shoulder straight into Sasuke. Yeah, they suck! Naruto yelled as Sasuke braced and let Naruto use his back as a springboard so he could fly right back at Sakura. No trust! Kakashi sniffed. Fine, no weapons for you then. Weapons? Sakura perked up right before Naruto drop-kicked her into the water. Sasuke turned to focus on him with a sharp, keen gaze, only for Sakura to tug him under the waves as well. Like some badass sword? Naruto demanded right before his teammates came at him from two different sides, bursting from the water. He waited till they finished their spar, pulling themselves onto the beach, squabbling. I don't know enough to teach you about any weapon enough to be a master, but I've copied a lot of basics, Kakashi said when they finally sat at his feet, looking eager. And at least one weapon is always a good thing to know. Can anyone tell me why? Sakura's hand shot in the air. It gives us reach, she said eagerly. Like if we have a contact poison or lean toward poison weapons, it's best to keep out of their reach. A sword or something would keep hands away from you. Good, any other reasons? If we can't use chakra, Sasuke said. It's an extra edge over just fists and feet. It also looks badass! Naruto jeered. Now, this is going to be a personal choice, Kakashi said. But let's go over some weapons and their history and advantages first, starting with the Tonto. Even Naruto listened as Kakashi gave them a lecture on a wide variety of classic weapons, from swords to Fuma shuriken to specialty knives, and on what pros and cons he knew about them. Finally, he pulled out a sealing scroll he had brought along just for this purpose. I've been on a lot of missions, Kakashi prefaced, and it's such a waste to leave good weapons behind. But I'm too lazy to go get them evaluated and sold every time, so I stockpile. You kids are lucky I haven't been by to sell them for a few years. What he released from the scroll was a veritable mountain of weapons. Naruto practically had hearts in his eyes, and Sasuke's gaze was very evaluating. Even Sakura looked interested. Don't cut yourselves, but swing some around, Kakashi encouraged. They did so eagerly, and he made sure to keep a close eye on them to make sure no one was hurt. He watched closely to see what happened to settle in their hands the easiest. I'm not Kakashi-sensei? Sakura was the first to stop exploring. I think I would like to learn how to use this one. He looked at her unconventional choice and couldn't help but smile. That could be very deadly in the right hands, he told her cheerfully, so we better make sure those are your hands. She smiled up at him and gave the long war hammer a spin. It was just a plain one that was a tad aged, but it would do until she was beyond the basics. Kakashi ran through his head trying to remember anyone in Konoha who knew how to use them. He didn't actually think of anyone at the moment. He wondered if it spoke of her character that she had picked a war hammer. Not a blade, but a bludgeoning weapon. She would crush, not cut. She would grind her enemies underneath her. Kakashi! Naruto yelled next, pumping a fist as he grinned at his choice. Interesting choice, Kakashi chuckled. Naruto spun the sickle and chain and nearly cut his nose out, but Kakashi thought he would do well with it. It would give him reach and would work well with his wind affinity. It also wasn't cumbersome and could be used for capture, which was more Naruto's style. Sasuke was the last, looking over a few weapons more closely than the rest. A Naginata or a Sasamata? Kakashi hummed as the boy looked at both very carefully. Both would be good. They give you range. The Sasamata would be good to pin opponents down to do close-range jutsu or genjutsu. The Naginata would be a good one to make them keep their distance. My mother knew how to wield the Sasamata, Sasuke finally offered, quiet. I imagined he was very good at it, Kakashi said easily. Do you want to follow her? Sasuke didn't answer verbally, but he picked the Sasamata and nodded once. Good choices, Kakashi smiled at all three of them. But before we get into the particulars of those personal choices, we are going to go over some weapons you are all going to carry. Kakashi dug through the pile to lay out a set of weapons before them. The Foyuka, Kakashi said, picking up the tube, is very useful. I'm sure with Sakura's growing herb knowledge, we can start working on paralytics and poisons. They are a silent weapon that only really takes aim and strong lungs. They may be useful in a pinch and well worth carrying. He let the kids peer at the ones he put before them before picking up the next item. Do any of you recognize these? They are not as popular these days.
Are they knuckle dusters?
Naruto asked, peering at the ring with a spike on it. Nope, they're karute, Kakashi said, slipping one on. They're actually worn with a spike hidden in your palm.
Why?
Sakura asked, frowned. Kakashi waved her up, and when she stood in front of him, she made a grabbing motion. See where that would end up? He asked.
Oh, Sakura said in surprise. It would puncture my skin or at least tangle in my clothes.
It's to help with your grip, Kakashi nodded. Naruto, you would suit these well with your brawler style.
Naruto already had one on every finger. Kakashi rolled his eyes and picked up the next item.
Here are the knuckle dusters. They are useful to add some more damage to your hits, Kakashi told them. And they can be used to deflect weapons as well. But you have to be very precise and sure in that instance, since it isn't a large surface. Sasuke, with your precise style, they could be an advantage. Sasuke looked at them closely, turning them over in his hands. Now on to some less conventional weapons. I don't actually have any for you. These are from my own collection, Kakashi said, holding up the first one. This is a tessin. I'm sure you've heard of them. Careful, it's very sharp. He passed the small folding fan out, and they all peered at it. The tessin is reinforced with steel spines. Generally, people use them to bludgeon. They are also sharp as a kunai, though, and can slice in an emergency. They can also be invaluable for winjutsu, helping give a bit of a kick to an attack. Naruto perked up at the element he had the most luck with. Kakashi hasn't tested them yet, but Naruto was most likely wind element. And here is a weapon you will rarely see these days. This is my grandfather's. Kakashi held up the long, thin pipe, almost 2 feet in length. It's made of steel and fully functional as an actual pipe, but getting hit by one of these in the head will crack a skull.
Sakura gave a whistle of appreciation at that.
You can also sharpen the end, Kakashi said, motioning to where it would be placed in your lips. My grandfather killed a man by shoving it through his eye. Said the next smoke was even better.
They all wrinkled their noses, and Kakashi chuckled at them.
And while I don't know how to do it myself, my grandfather used his with his fire element. He could create a smoke thicker than a smoke bomb with this.
Now Sasuke looked a tad more interested.
And I know a decent number of his friends who claimed he smoked some poisonous mixtures that would create poisonous haze that was deadly in enclosed areas.
Now Sakura perked up. Kakashi had been starting to teach her less of the medical side of plants and more what he knew about the deadly side.
These two are very useful weapons in discreet situations, Kakashi said, folding the fan and pipe away. And here is the last weapon I'm definitely going to train you on. They stared as he pulled out a longbow. Any guesses why? Kakashi asked as they stayed silent.
For long distance,
Sakura said immediately. Yes, but why? Why not just kunai?
Arrows can go farther and keep more force, Sakura said, especially out of a bow that size.
We could stay out of sensing range and snipe people, Sasuke said, eyes narrowing in thought.
And disappear before they even realize where we are!
Naruto grinned. And if you say wrapped an explosive seal around an arrow? Kakashi asked offhandedly. Naruto's grin was unholy. When they had all mastered the seal to store items, Kakashi let them have the evening off. Not that there was much to do alone in the woods, though, so they ended up sitting around the fire anyway, asking Kakashi questions about their lessons or anything they could think of.
Do you have any hobbies other than porn?
Sakura asked, partly exasperated as Kakashi talked to them over top of each. He wanted to giggle and tell that they had it good. He had actually set the book down most days to help them out. I have some hobbies, he drawled in a tone he knew pissed them off.
Like what?
Naruto badgered.
Being lame?
Sasuke gave Kakashi a flat, unblinking stare that was actually a tad unnerving. I rescue puppies, Kakashi said aloud, which wasn't even really a lie, hilariously enough. They gave him suspicious looks, and he smiled innocently at them. And I do challenges with my eternal rival, a man who wears green spandex and has a bowl cut. Now they were just looking disbelieving. I also play the shamisen.
Okay, I call bullshit, Sakura declared. None of that can be true.
Well, maybe the puppies, Naruto chimed in. I mean, Kakashi-sensei isn't heartless. No trust, Kakashi said mournfully. It's all the truth. Prove it, Sakura said triumphantly. Oh, he was going to have fun the day they met Guy and his talking Ningen. But that was not this day. So Kakashi pulled out a scroll he rarely used, and it only brought last minute. It was a small thing, only the size of 2 of his fingers, and tucked away carefully. In a puff of smoke, Kakashi had his shamisen on his lap. His students blinked in surprise, and all looked up at him, incredulous. Kakashi idly tuned the instrument under said incredulous gazes. At the first note, they started to lose the surprise and shifted closer, curious. In the still night, Kakashi grabbed the bachi and drew a sharp note out of the instrument that had belonged to his mother before she had died, giving birth to Kakashi. Kakashi had learned when he was young and thought learning her favorite instrument would be a way to get closer to her. He had a bad habit of picking up the habits of the dead. Obito's excuses, Rin's overstocked medical supplies, his mother's shamisen. So the kids listened as he played them a song he had never heard his mother play, but what his father had told him was her favorite. You're really good, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said as the last note faded away. Your old sensei isn't that good, he said as he looked at the 3 young faces.
No, you are, Sakura insisted. My mother plays the shamisen as well, and you sound just as good as her.
Well, thank you, he smiled, but I don't know that many songs. Can you play the shamisen as well then, Sakura? She flushed as all the boys looked at her.
A few songs. I'm not good though.
Kakashi held out the shamisen, and she dithered for a moment before she took it and strummed out an easy tune that most beginners started with. Wow, Sakura, you're good! Naruto cheered, ever the ball of enthusiasm.
Can you play anything?
Sakura asked the blonde. Kakashi winced, knowing that would be a no. Naruto drew back, fumbling, and Kakashi gave him a soft look over Sakura's head. There was nothing to be ashamed about being an orphan, nor with being hated for something not of your own fault. I can play the koto, Sasuke announced as Naruto fumbled. Not very well, but my mother was teaching me before. He cut off and the circle fell in an uncomfortable silence as Sakura looked up at Kakashi desperately, unsure of what to say to the 2 glum boys. It's always good to know how to play an instrument, Kakashi said. A good hobby and good for the mind. When we get back to Konoha, I will see if I can find anyone to help you more with the koto. And I can show you a bit more, Sakura. What about you, Naruto? Would you like to learn to play something? Naruto looked surprised at the offer. Yeah, he said almost shyly as everyone looked at him. Kakashi smiled at them all. My cute little students! I have a surprise for you! They all peered at him suspiciously.
Well, I suppose your last surprise was pretty good,
Sakura allowed.
We'll trust you this time, Kakashi-sensei,
Naruto declared. Kakashi sighed dramatically. Mom, maybe I won't tell you the surprise if you will be such downers all the time. They gave him identical flat looks, and he couldn't resist. He reached out and ruffled their hair, switching when they batted at his hands until he had thoroughly messed up all their hair. The capital of Tea Country is half a day's journey from here if we move quickly. I was thinking you might all like to go have a look. They perked up and nodded eagerly. We'll treat it as an infiltration mission. Sasuke, Sakura, you're in charge of our cover and disguises. Naruto and Sasuke, you work on contingency plans in case anything goes wrong. Like what? Naruto wrinkled his nose. Anything. We will leave tomorrow morning, so you will have the rest of the day to plan. Chop chop! Naruto and Sasuke descended on their supply of scrolls, tucked in a bin by the tents, while Sakura flopped down on her log, brow furrowing in thought. Beyond their shelter, the rain was still pouring as it had been for the past day. Monsoon season was soon. It would build character to make them work in the torrential downpour.